Picture this. You're an average American reader, nothing to do with K-pop, flipping through the San Francisco Chronicle on a random Monday morning. And there, staring back at you, is a full newspaper ad featuring 7 men standing shoulder to shoulder, their backs turned to the camera, clearly positioned at a row of urinals. Above them, in bold all-caps text, a headline that reads like something out of a tabloid crime blotter: BTS members seen in bathroom amid mysterious late-night gathering. A red starburst graphic screams, shocking photo revealed. No context, no explanation. Just 7 of the most famous men on the planet, caught in what looks like the most mundane human moment imaginable, dressed up as if it were breaking news. If you're new to this channel, and you like unpacking the weird, wonderful ways the entertainment industry gets inside your head, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now, because this story is one of the strangest marketing plays we've covered all year, and Jimin is right at the center of it. Because here's the thing, this wasn't a leak, it wasn't paparazzi, it wasn't some tabloid scoop that Big Hit Music scrambled to spin. This was Big Hit Music itself, buying that ad space, writing that headline, and placing it deliberately in one of the most read local newspapers in the Bay Area. 2 days later, the same stunt landed in the New York Post, one of the highest circulation newspapers in the entire United States, with an almost identical spread. Same 7 men, same backs turned, same faux scandal energy. And that's when people really started to notice, because this wasn't happening on Twitter, it wasn't happening on some fan Instagram account, it was happening in physical print, in newspapers that everyday Americans who have never heard a BTS song in their life pick up with their morning coffee. That's a completely different kind of exposure, and it raises the obvious question: why would one of the biggest groups on Earth, a group that could trend organically with a single tweet, spend money on a fake scandal in a medium that most Gen Z fans don't even read? The answer, once you piece it together, is actually one of the smartest promotional moves BTS has pulled in years, and it starts about a week earlier, on July 9th, when something quietly shifted across every official BTS account. Fans watching closely noticed that RM, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, Jimin, V, and Jungkook had all changed their social media bios to a single word: Lamron. No caption, no explanation, just that word, sitting there, daring people to figure it out. And if you're the kind of person who likes solving a puzzle before the answer gets handed to you, you already know where this is going, because Lamron spelled backward is normal. Alongside the bio change came a moody, film strip-style teaser image in deep teal tones, a collage of mirrored reflections, ornate interiors, and close-up shots of the members, with a swan sitting at the center of it all. And if you follow this group for any length of time, that swan is not a random design choice. Comment down below if you remember the highlight reel era, because longtime fans immediately connected the imagery to BTS's earlier HYYH period, the one that gave us the Save Me music video and that haunting line about being fine when you're really not, along with visual callbacks to the black swan concept from Map of the Soul. A swan that looks pristine on the surface, but is quietly struggling underneath. That is not a coincidence. That is the entire emotional thesis of what was coming. Because Normal is not just another B-side track buried on the back half of an album. It's the 9th song on Erarang, BTS's 5th studio album, and it's being positioned as the direct follow-up single to Swim, which spent time at #1 and has now logged 16 straight weeks on the Billboard Hot 100. Produced by Ryan Tedder, the same hitmaker behind some of the biggest pop records of the last decade, alongside Sean Cook, Normal is an all-English track that turns the group's own fame into the subject of the song itself. It's about what happens when scrutiny, chaos, and constant public evaluation become so routine that you stop even registering them as unusual, when hate and love start arriving through the same channel and you have to build some kind of armor just to keep functioning. And Jimin opens the entire track. His verse asks a question about identity, about being painted one way by one group of people and a completely different way by another, about how a single coin can have 2 sides, and somehow neither of them fully captures the truth. If you've ever felt like people project a version of you onto you that doesn't actually match who you are, that opening verse is going to land differently once you actually hear it. And I promise you, once this video is over, you're going to want to go listen to the full thing with that context sitting in the back of your mind. So now go back to that newspaper ad, because once you understand what Normal is actually about, the joke becomes obvious and honestly kind of brilliant. The entire premise of the song is that BTS's real, unfiltered, unglamorous life keeps colliding with a public that treats every single detail about them as headline-worthy news. So what does big hit music do to promote it? They stage exactly that. They take the most ordinary, unremarkable moment imaginable, 7 grown men standing at urinals, something that happens to literally every man alive multiple times a day, and they dress it up in tabloid language as if it were a genuine scandal. The image has quickly sparked curiosity and speculation. Part of the ad copy reads, as if reporting on a genuine controversy. It's satire. It's the band pointing directly at the exact phenomenon the song is about, and using the same tabloid machinery that normally exploits them to instead make a joke at that machinery's expense. It is, if you think about it for more than 5 seconds, a genuinely clever piece of guerrilla marketing, and it worked, because we are literally making a video about it right now. If this kind of behind-the-scenes marketing breakdown is something you enjoy, make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on, because we're going to be covering the music video reaction the second it drops. And that timing is not an accident either. This entire rollout has been engineered to land during what might be the single busiest week of BTS's entire comeback era. On July 16th at midnight Korea Standard Time, the actual teaser trailer finally dropped on HYBE label's official YouTube channel, and it picks up exactly where the newspaper stunt left off, opening not on a stage, not with pyrotechnics or a dance break, but inside a restroom, with RM casually slipping between the other 6 members as they stand in a row, completely unbothered, like it's just another Tuesday. It's loose. It's funny. It feels spontaneous rather than choreographed, and that contrast is deliberate, because big hit music has said outright that the setting is meant to give fans a glimpse of the group's unfiltered and everyday side, contrasting with their polished stage personas. That's the whole theme of the song, played out visually before the actual music video even exists. From there, the release plan gets even more strategic. The full music video, along with a Korean language version of Normal that fans first heard performed live during the Busan concerts, plus a new instrumental version, is dropping exclusively on Spotify on July 17th at 1 in the afternoon Korea time. That is not a random Friday. That is the exact same day BTS is scheduled to walk onto the stage at the Stade de France in Paris for the first of 2 nights on the European leg of their Arirang World Tour, a tour that has already broken attendance records in London and turned Munich's Allianz Arena into a sea of purple light sticks just days earlier. 2 days after that, on July 19th, the video expands to every streaming platform and hits YouTube for the world to see. And that same day, in an almost unbelievable stroke of scheduling, BTS is set to co-headline the first ever FIFA World Cup final halftime show at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, sharing the stage with Madonna, Shakira, and newly confirmed co-headliner Justin Bieber, in front of an audience FIFA itself has projected could reach a couple billion people worldwide. Let that sink in for a second. In the span of 1 single week, Jimin and the rest of BTS are dropping a deeply personal single about the exhausting weight of fame, performing it live to record-breaking European crowds, and then stepping onto arguably the biggest stage football has ever built for a musical act. All while a tabloid-style newspaper stunt about the most mundane bathroom moment imaginable is still going viral in the background. If you're keeping score, that's not luck. That's a machine running at absolutely full capacity, and Jimin is standing right in the middle of it. Tell me in the comments which part of this rollout surprised you the most, because I genuinely want to know if it was the newspaper ad, the swan imagery, or the fact that this is all happening the same week as the World Cup final. There's also a slightly less glamorous piece of context worth mentioning here, because we like to give you the full picture and not just the highlight reel. Swim, the lead single that came before Normal, is currently facing a copyright infringement lawsuit in the United States, with independent songwriters alleging the track was built from an unreleased demo of theirs. Big Hit Music has firmly denied the claims and maintains the song is an entirely original creation, and legally speaking, nothing has been decided yet, so we're not going to speculate on the outcome here. But it does add an interesting layer to why Normal, a song literally about scrutiny and public narrative spinning out of your control, is dropping right now. Whether that's coincidental timing or not, it's hard not to notice the irony. If you want us to keep tracking how that lawsuit develops, drop a comment saying so, because that's a story we can absolutely follow up on separately. Meanwhile, the commercial numbers around Ererang tell their own story about just how dominant this era has been. The album spent 3 consecutive weeks sitting at number 1 on the Billboard 200 before easing down to number 25 on the most recent chart, which, for context, is still an extraordinarily strong hold this many months after release. Swim itself is still parked inside the Hot 100 at number 84 after 16 straight weeks on the chart, an almost unheard of run of longevity for a K-pop single in the American market. So when people ask why big hit music would bother spending money on a physical newspaper campaign in an era where everything lives online, the honest answer is that BTS has already conquered the digital space. Streaming numbers, chart positions, viral clips, all of that is essentially guaranteed at this point. What they don't have locked down yet is the casual American reader who's never streamed a BTS song, who doesn't follow K-pop Twitter, who has literally no reason to ever encounter this group unless something forces its way directly into their line of sight. A weird, satirical newspaper ad does exactly that. It's disruptive. It's confusing on purpose. And confusion, as any marketer will tell you, is one of the most powerful tools you have for making someone stop scrolling and actually pay attention. So when you step back and look at the entire arc, from the Lamron bio switch on July 9th, through the Swan and Mirror teaser imagery, into the physical tabloid ads that landed in 2 major American newspapers, all the way to the official restroom set trailer on July 16th, this whole campaign is really one continuous piece of storytelling. It's BTS taking the exact criticism baked into Normal, the idea that their most ordinary human moments get twisted into headline news, and using it as the promotional engine for the song itself. Jimin's opening verse asks who gets to decide which version of you is the real one, the polished stage persona, or the unfiltered person underneath. And the marketing campaign built around that verse forces that exact question onto anyone who saw those newspaper ads without context. It's meta, it's self-aware, and it's working exactly as intended, because right now, this week, in the middle of a record-breaking European tour and days before performing on one of the biggest stages in sports history, Jimin's name is sitting in American newspapers that have never once mentioned K-pop before. If you've made it this far, I want to hear from you directly. Do you think this kind of satirical, almost trolling promotional strategy is genius? Or do you think it's a little too clever for its own good? Let me know your honest take in the comments below, because I read every single one, and I'm curious whether this lands with people outside the existing fanbase the way big hit music clearly hopes it will. And if you want to be the very first to see our breakdown of the actual Normal music video once it drops, hit that subscribe button, tap the notification bell, and I promise you we will have a full reaction and analysis ready the moment it goes live. Until then, drop a comment telling me which member's verse you're most excited to hear in full context. Share this video with anyone who's been confused by that newspaper ad going around online, and I will see you in the next one.